What's up, everyone? I'm Joe Lemon. Thank you so much for tuning into the Real Value Exchange podcast. So I'm excited to get back into the flow of dropping more and more episodes of Real Value Exchange. And I want to thank you to all my listeners that are consistent, that drop me voice notes on Anchor, people that reach out to me on Instagram. Really appreciate all the downloads. And you know what? If this is your first time listening, I'm really curving the content to find this intersection between like sales, marketing, growing your business or your clinic or your practice, and trends that are happening throughout healthcare. I think this is a really fun place for me to play. I work in the medical device space, and I get a chance to meet a lot of cool clinics that are doing some different things and bringing innovative thoughts and devices and technology and, you know, even treatment styles to healthcare. And, you know, healthcare is it's in a place that I think it needs more voices. To be quite honest with you, I think it needs more people talking about how the space is evolving, because a lot of things are happening. But man, if you rely on your insurance plans to expose you to them, chances are you won't ever have access to it. So I want to kind of use this platform for that. I want to share with the people out there, man. I want you guys to try out some different alternative methods, especially when it comes to preventative medicine. And this is a place that I hold very close to the chest, because I think that there's so many chronic illnesses and lifestyle diseases that could be prevented, if not prevented, staved off, or at least you have a better quality of life while you're dealing with whatever you're dealing with. Now, this could be from people that have joint pain, people that just have chronic, muscle spasms, or people that even have some more serious autoimmune cases. So, and I really want to kind of leverage this space for that. And so today, kind of staying right in that vein, I had a great conversation with the guys from Bridge2PT. And these guys are bringing up a way that physical therapists can have direct access to patients and vice versa. And so it's a marketplace where you can go on, you can find therapists in your space, in your area, I should say, and you can easily set up an appointment. They can come out to you. So instead of you going to the outpatient clinics and dealing with the long wait times and, having to have all the hassles of, working in somebody else's environment, you can work with a therapist at your home. They can really get to know you and provide and offer some of the best solutions that will help you get through whatever you're dealing with. So during this episode, I also share a plugin that I use on LinkedIn, working with my guys. He's a physical therapist, Keith Cronin, and Dr. Connor Robinson, who's a chiropractor. These guys developed a really interesting tool where you can plug it into your LinkedIn, and then it automatically reaches out to your target audience based off of job title and location. So obviously I'm working with a lot of clinicians, so that's who I target. And it has a nice friendly auto messenger built right in, and then it plugs into your CRM. So it's a really smooth system. If you guys are interested in trying that out, we talk about it a little bit in this podcast. I think it's a really valuable tool for people doing any type of B2B prospecting work, and you're looking to kind of grow your network, or you're looking for the right clients on LinkedIn. It's a great tool. So anyway, let them know that you heard about it here first on the Real Value Exchange podcast. I'll have a link. I'll have the email to Dr. Connor Robinson in the show notes. And, if you guys hit them up, just please plug me. Let them know that you actually listened and you found some value. And I want to, would love for you guys to check it out for yourself to see if it makes sense for your business. All right. With that said, guys, they didn't pay me for that plug either. They're just good people. I just like those dudes. But anyway, let's get into today's episode with Jeff and Collin from Bridge2PT.
You guys do it while you're skydiving or anything?
That's right. Yeah.
All right, first, I want the audience to kind of get to know you guys a little bit more. Definitely want to talk about what you guys are doing with the business, Bridge2PT. I think it's really needed for the marketplace. I hope so many people kind of really hear this message and think of ways that they can innovate their space as well. But so let's talk about how'd you guys break into healthcare? What was the thing that kind of got you going into it?
Yeah, so I always knew that, even from high school, that I wanted to do something, patient-centered, something treating patients. Med school was the plan and all that. Kind of went to undergrad, was pre-med, thought I was going to go that route. Some things change in your life, as they do when you're 18, 19, 20 years old, and decided med school probably wasn't for me, and took a few years off. So I was a personal trainer, I was an EMT, I was all kinds of different stuff in that time. I really liked personal training, but I felt like there was kind of a big knowledge gap there for, what I could do with people I was working with. So I looked into PT and fell into that. and went back to PT school at Northridge, and that's when I met Jeff.
Nice. How old were you once you were doing all the training and everything else?
Let's see. I went back into grad school at 27.
Okay.
Sounds about right. Yeah, something like that. I think I took like 4 years off in between undergrad and grad school.
Nice.
Yeah.
Really cool. How'd you get into it, Jeff?
So I actually started with business major back in 2000. Yeah, and I played soccer for my school and everything. And school was kind of on the back burner for me. Sports was, I wanted to go pro and everything, and so that was my goal.
That's the dream.
Yeah, and second year tore my ACL, lateral medial meniscus, had a big knee injury, had surgery, went back, played for another year, had another knee surgery. So career kind of fizzled out, but I was personal training for about 6 years through that time. Went back, got my master's in business, and didn't really know what I wanted to do. I didn't have direction. I enjoyed personal training, but there was, something missing, like a challenge on a daily basis. And I met, we had a family friend going to a physical therapy clinic at the time, and so I went over and talked to the owners, and they told me kind of what I'd have to do to, get my degree and everything. And it was a big task because I'd been in school for 7 years already, and I talked to my soon-to-be wife and, said this is what I want to do, and went back to school for 5.5 years, and
nice.
I met Collin, at PT school, and we kind of hit it off right off the bat. We, think similar, and
all our teachers used to confuse us all the time.
Oh, really?
It was Jeff.
You guys do got a very similar presence and vibe about you. I mean, I didn't want to try to force that on the audience, but all right, cool. I'm not the first one then. I mean, man, so, what's the whole time frame that you guys went into school? It was around, what's that? Would you guys
went in 2012.
Okay.
Yeah.
So then 3-year program.
Finished 2015.
Yeah, 2015 we graduated.
Yeah.
Got right into the outpatient orthopedic setting right after that.
Nice.
And, worked in that system of 20 plus patients a day. And I think Collin called me. I started making some decisions. My wife and I were like, hey, we wanted to find something where we can make some passive income and maybe have one of us stay at home with my son. And so we started this platform, building Bridge2PT, and Collin called me on the way back home from San Diego with his wife and said, man, I need to change something, because he was exhausted.
I was feeling burnt out. And I think that's something that we as PTs are running into faster and faster now. We get out of school for a couple years and we're in outpatient and we're cranking through patients and we get burnt out. And so I called Jeff and I said, yeah, man, I need to do something different. What can we do?
Man, you know what's so cool about this story? Because I was training around the same time frame. I had a personal training company out of Atlanta. There's about 8 trainers under me, and it's like trying to herd cats. It was impossible. Didn't work out, clearly. but and it was right around 2012, and I remember, after the whole, economic downturn and everything, I'm still training, and that was tough trying to maintain that business then. And I'm in school, like, okay. Previously I was in school, and I'm like, okay, I could do physical therapy, because I was going to the University of Pittsburgh, and they had a good program, and I was like, go the PT route, or I can keep partying and just get a business degree and get out of here. And so I was like, marketing all day, let's get out of here. But I've always had this love for the space, and it's one of those things where, back then, at least early 2000s, it was known as one of the career paths to have the best work-life balance. Right? And now it's kind of shifted into, you feel like people are kind of running that mill that a lot of other career paths go on now. Yeah. Where it's kind of turn and burn, man. So this was kind of born out of like pain for the most part, then it sounds like.
Yeah, totally.
Yeah, I think that's, a thing that Collin and I have behind it is experience. So we know how it feels to be in that spot.
It's important.
We were looking for kind of a way out of it, and there's not a lot of alternatives out there. So you're like an owner or you're a staff PT right now. And, there's a big discrepancy between the two, and, we wanted to give a third option for people. So that's how we kind of created it. And, it's kind of like an Uber in a sense, the business, but it empowers the staff PT a lot to kind of take control of their life and set their own schedule. We're working on setting your own price at this point. So we're just trying to set this platform up so people can, break into that ownership in a sense without the headache of ownership.
Yeah. I think that's really important. I mean, almost like a marketplace, what you guys are trying to create then. I mean, where things can kind of be self-regulated to the most part. And that's the part that seems like it's missing from healthcare. what's the biggest issue you guys think right now that's happening in like healthcare? Do you guys think it's the whole, healthcare provider burnout, or what would you guys say?
Yeah, I mean, I think burnout's a big deal. I think all the things that go with that, the dropping reimbursement rates, especially in PT, we're getting cut again come the new year, PT.
Really?
Yeah, Medicare is going to drop again with their reimbursement.
8%.
I saw that headline. Okay, that's what I was referring to, huh?
It's tough, I mean, I understand from the clinic owner standpoint, like what you have to do to make it work. I mean, you got to keep people getting a paycheck. You got to keep the lights on, and I understand it. But for us, I think in the clinic, it was like the PTs aren't happy with that system. The patients aren't necessarily happy with that system. You see your PT for 15 minutes, and then you're working with an aide, and you get put on ice and whatever, and it's just kind of this cycle of am I really getting better, or am I just kind of putting a little Band-Aid on it and then coming back a few months later with the same thing? And so that was really what we wanted to work on, is make this better for the PTs and for the patients. Get people better and make the people that are getting them better happier while they do it.
Do you think the biggest issue is it starts with more so the actual patients understanding how the process works? Or is it more of the healthcare provider being able to articulate the message to the patients? Do you think it's a bottom-up or top-down type of issue there?
I think it's both angles.
Yeah.
And that's the hard part is there's like an education process that has to happen on both ends. And, I think that's the difficult point. But you can shift that. You have to at least take the steps to start shifting that. And like Collin said, I think a patient having a PT or healthcare provider in their corner is huge. And this as a personal trainer, like people like saying, oh, I know a guy, I know a guy that can help you out. And that's what we want to do, is allow a relationship to form, based off, I get an hour with you, I get to see where you live and really learn about your life and make some big healing changes. And that I think it's more of a Band-Aid in the clinic right now. And that's what I was seeing. A lot of good stuff happens in the clinic too, but I think this provides a little bit different space for people. So
I would have to agree, man. I mean, so all right, let's dive into the business. If you guys don't mind, you tell me as little about it or as much about it as you want to.
Sure.
So let's kind of recap for everyone listening. This is more so an actual process where I can go onto a website or your app. I'm assuming there's an app coming out or no?
Yeah, we're working on an app right now, but it's a website right now.
Website based, and I say, all right, I got some carpal tunnel issues. Me and my wife just went through her issues with her, and I took her over to HealthFit. All those guys are awesome over there. Paid cash because I like her. Want her to have the actual time, not to be rushed through the mill. And so, but instead, you guys will come out to our place, and then that way you can have some quality time, see how my every day is set up, and try to make some modifications. Is that right?
Yeah, I think so. What makes us a little unique is that we have this really functional platform. So you go on as a patient and you create a profile, and then you can browse according to your location that you put in, and it's a 15-mile radius. You'll browse PTs that are signed up on the site too, and you could hand pick your PT, which is a huge thing. A lot of times you go to a clinic and you get assigned somebody that has an open schedule. This one you can actually see their picture, you can see their hobbies and interests, so you find a connection before you even meet them, their specialties, their education, and then you don't have to call anybody. You can book them all online and pay online as well.
Wow.
So it's very functional. And then the PT, same thing. Profiles creation is free, so you just go on, create a profile, and from the PT's perspective, on your profile you can unlock your schedule, and then again we're getting that functionality set up where you can set your own price too. So very independent. If you want to take a 3-4 day weekend, you could do whatever you want. You have complete control over that.
Love that, man. Love that. So as a business model, is this are you guys getting paid for the booking fee, or is this more so? Well, you guys tell me.
Yeah. So we're getting paid for the booking. I mean, we're housing the transaction, right? You're searching for the PT on the site. You book the PT through the site. The PT will document on our site. We house all the documentation in AWS, and everything's all secure and HIPAA compliant. So we essentially have our own little EMR platform on there for PTs to be using. So it's kind of a one-stop shop. You get into your profile and you can access everything you need to from the site.
That was my next question, man. I mean, because that's the other back end piece that can be tricky with this, right? Is that how do you make sure that everything stays secure and like airtight. You know, if someone's trying to document what's going on with someone, I'm like, all right, is it going to be out there in the universe for everyone else to know that I got 2 torn MCLs?
Yeah, right.
Not that anybody cares about doing that for me, but anyway.
The only time a PT can see your information as a patient is 48 hours before and after your appointment.
Oh, wow.
So even when you book a PT, let's say you book me for next week, I can't see it until 48 hours before. And the reason why we open it up 48 hours before is just for continuation of care. So I, as the treating therapist, can go back and see, you know, what have you done in the past? Who have you worked with? What are they working on? And then make a plan for my session with you. And then I have 48 hours to complete a SOAP note, a documentation on the visit.
Well. So I'm gonna keep digging if you guys don't mind.
No worries.
Like as a physical therapist, are there any pushback to this model? Are they open? Are they receptive to it? What's been your experience?
I think the only real pushback that we're seeing right now is just the difficulty with kind of convincing PTs, hey, you know how to do this already.
Mm-hmm.
You know, this is not in-home PT is no different than in the clinic PT. I mean, you know, I have a table that I got on Amazon for $100.
Yep.
You know, I have some bands, a couple little weights, kettlebells, stuff like that.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, you can be really resourceful with what a patient has in their house. And the awesome thing is, if you're trying to load somebody up and you're using something in their house to make them, you know, lift a heavy weight or move a heavy weight, when you leave, they already know exactly where they did it and what they used. So there's not that loss. You know, sometimes in the clinic we work on, here, we'll do a squat with this ball and then, you know, to this chair, and the patient goes home and they're like, well, I don't have that chair, I don't have that ball, how am I going to do that?
Doesn't translate as well.
Right. If I already did it in your house with something that's there, you can just do it right when I leave, and so you get better compliance and everything like that.
Yeah, man. I mean, what's the name of that one? There's like a mobile massage marketplace as well, where you can hire like a massage therapist. Soothe. That's right. I think that they're killing it right now. I saw some stats.
Last time I looked at it, they're like maybe 3.5, 4 years out, and they have 10,000 practitioners, I think. So they're doing great. But again, it's educating the practitioners on what it is. I mean, in the PT space, there hasn't really been anything like this. And home health care has been associated with, you know, acute care, like moving a leg in a bed kind of thing. You know, we want to change that to this is outpatient orthopedic, this is vestibular. We're partnering with a company called Proact in Southern California that does baseline concussion testing for youth sports.
Interesting.
And so they need somebody to come out and treat when kids get concussions, a practitioner to come out to the soccer field or to the home or wherever and help return to sport concussion treatment. So, you know, this is dynamic treatment. It's not just acute care. It's across the board. I
love that, man. And, you know, I was on your website doing some homework, poking around, and, you know, you guys talked a lot about the self-care movement as well. And to me, this is like the evolution of that sports rehab world, where they're like, you know, where it was like about, at least from a marketing standpoint, I think sports is always very sexy to people. So that's what grabs people first. Like, oh, sports, and LeBron's doing it great. You know, and then eventually this will trickle down to everybody else, right?
Yeah, LeBron will take you if you want to.
If LeBron wants to jump on board, if LeBron's listening, I'm like, holy, no. But honestly, like, so this whole umbrella of like a preventive medicine, you know, I think is something that is on the way up. I think the more that these models start to evolve to where they can start to really put this at the forefront of the public.
Yeah.
Because the public knows about this a little bit from the personal trainer, which is funny. But, you know, and so they know about doing certain things, but I haven't seen a full movement to act on it yet. So what's your whole thoughts about how this kind of lines up with that preventive self-care movement?
You know, personally, I think it's time. And Collin and I have talked about this so often. You know, we both have completely shifted our diet around. You know, we both are active in like meditation and taking care of ourselves. This has all been relatively recent, probably in the last 4 years for both of us.
Wow.
But in the clinic, when you see a patient every 20 minutes or 15 minutes, some things kind of get overlooked. You're here, they come in and they explain, oh, I have knee pain, and you know, you address the knee pain. But sometimes you don't have time for diet, you don't have time for stress management, all these other things. And so I think not only going into their home and seeing where they live, but also having an hour with them to really go over these things of like how their day is going, how their week's going, what's going on in their life, how they manage their stress, you know, different techniques, what they're eating. Like there's this whole kind of area of health, wellness, prevention that needs to be addressed, and we need time to do that. And I think that's the big thing that our site gives the people is time with their patient.
Love that, man. Yeah. You know, as a trainer, one of the things I quickly realized is that, I thought I was great and I looked a whole lot better than what I do right now. And so maybe I was able to kind of get some clients that way because I could do some cool exercises. But honestly, what people were hiring me for was accountability.
Sure. Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like they wanted somebody in the corner, as you guys mentioned, prior to us kind of firing up or at the very beginning, is that you want to say that I know a guy.
Right.
Like that whole thing was like the biggest takeaway I got after a while. I was like, oh, you just want to hang out. So you can like ask questions along the way. Like, hey, should I have, wheat or should I just leave the bread alone totally? Yeah. I mean, and it's as silly as it sounded. I was like, wow, that's really all this is kind of coming down to. So
yeah, I mean, I think too, kind of going back to that last question, the whole prevention aspect, a lot of times, you can't get reimbursement for prevention right now in physical therapy. It's not, you can't go to a physical therapist through your insurance and say, oh, I just want to see how I'm doing and see how I'm feeling. You have to have a diagnosis. There has to be something wrong with you. Mm-hmm. And I think that's kind of indicative of a bigger problem with the medical system that, hopefully we're moving toward that prevention model rather than just treating the disease, trying to work on it beforehand. And that's a big reason why we're in this space the way that we are, and we're cash based right now. And you're paying for that prevention and for that person to have that person to be working with you, even if nothing is wrong with you yet. Even if you're like, man, this shoulder has really started to get sore, and I don't want it to turn into something because I've seen what happens when it does. And to get started on working with that,
man, because especially with healthcare, right? Like, are you guys seeing this whole model of the whole value-based healthcare? Is that taking hold at all? Is that being implemented by, some of the higher ups?
What do you mean, like value-based healthcare?
Well, so where they look at trying to see how they can lower the cost, but then have a much higher quality of care. So they have to look at that whole model of how can we, try to stave off a lot of these injuries happening up front. Have you guys seen any of that talks? I mean, I know I just see, magazine articles about it.
Sure.
I'm not sure if it's really happening, though.
Yeah, I mean, I don't think that a ton of it is happening, in the clinics.
Yeah.
I mean, I think there's probably isolated spots. Mm-hmm. But it's hard. Like we talked about before, it's hard to kind of move into those different spaces when, you have a clinic that runs a certain way and you have insurance contracts and all that. I think that there's more and more people trying to move into that independently.
Yeah.
And that's what we want to give those people a platform for. And we can house all the back end stuff for you and you just focus on doing what you're doing with your patients.
Yeah. I mean, to me, that's why I think the whole cash model is going to have to kind of take hold first before it could be seriously implemented. I was... if you look at any type of socialized healthcare models, right? I mean, they still have a pretty strong cash-based, services that they offer.
Definitely, yeah. Because
there's, wait times and other, hurdles with having any type of socialized, service, right? But here, I feel like if it's a closed system like Kaiser, I feel like they're working on some interesting projects where they can kind of look at it and try to say, okay, this person's with us for 10 years. If we can try to stave off a couple things, they can figure out those economics. But as independents and everything else is fragmented. So it's like cash seems like it's the only bridge that will help us get there. Unless there's something else I'm missing.
No, definitely. And we have a couple of PTs that are on our site that have formed their own professional corporation.
Okay.
And they get insurance contracts. So they can offer to some people, hey, I also take these insurance plans. And then some will pay cash. So, I think there's a mix of it out there. And I think that there's a place for insurance still in this system. And there's a place for cash-based too. So, the cash-based is huge with education too. Like you said, the lifestyle, the prevention, and you need time with a patient to teach them that stuff. And I think even booking, 1, 2, 3 treatments to really get that education process down is huge.
Have you guys been obviously, you guys have been doing this for a while now, right? I mean, as far as going on site to people's places or no?
Yeah. So, okay. I mean, let's see, the site now itself has been live about 3-4 months.
Okay.
It took us a long time to get the site working and built. Neither of us has any idea how to build a website.
Yeah, IT is brutal. It was like almost a 2-year process for
us. One of our
hardest
processes.
Yeah. It's a beast trying to build any type of marketplace, though. I mean, that's just different than a blog site.
Yeah. I mean, it has to be functional, right? Mm-hmm. It has to have all these back end functions. So, anyways, but I mean, I've been treating through the site for a little while now, and it's awesome. I love going into people's houses and really getting down to like the root of what's going on and saying like, oh, you have some bands, show me where they are, and let's go hook them up. And you have an old elliptical in the corner of the garage, like let me pull some boxes away from it so I can get you on it. And it's totally different than in the clinic, like, oh, it's really easy, let's do this, and then go home, and that's totally separate from what I'm doing here. It's really like pulling them into their own care.
Are you able to have like a whole bunch of repeat clients with it as well?
Yeah, so the way it works in California, physical therapists have direct access. So that means you don't need a prescription to see a patient. You can see that patient for 12 visits or 45 calendar days, whatever comes first. If you hit the edge of that, then you need a prescription to continue. A lot of times people are seeking the physical therapy. They already have a prescription, so it's not a huge issue. The other thing is, a lot of times these people have a relationship with some kind of primary care or somebody, and any MD can write them a prescription for physical therapy. So once you're going with them and they're really bought in, they're more than happy to, whenever they go see their doctor next for their blood labs or whatever, to say, hey, can you write me a prescription for PT? And doctors are usually pretty pumped about saying, oh, you found something that's working well for your back pain you've had for 5 years?
Right.
Yeah, let me write it for you.
Sure. I mean, so if we're talking about trying to grow the site, you guys are doing a lot of like biz dev as well. You guys working with like primary care still? Is that right?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. We're trying to work with, I think our biggest problem right now is kind of this chicken or the egg problem. Do we grow the PTs? Yeah. Do we grow the patients?
Yeah.
If we grow the patients too fast, then there's no PTs available for them, and that's a problem. If we grow the PTs too fast, we have a bunch of PTs kind of waiting around for patients. Yeah. So it's, we're just dancing this line of trying to grow them both at the right pace.
Nice, man. I mean, man, it's one of those things. I got a couple of friends that I'm sure who work in the whole startup landscape or would like, okay, you have to raise capital. Yeah. But it's so nice to be scrappy as well. So are you guys doing the scrappy route, or are you guys going to raise the capital?
Scrappy.
Fighting your way through it.
So, we're self-funded. We
nice.
We saved working in the clinic. We saved to be able to do some of this. In the future we may, seek some funding, but right now we're trying to do it ourselves and kind of grassroots. We're doing a lot of social media marketing. We met through LinkedIn, and that's, a big reach out to a lot of our therapists is through LinkedIn. And we're going to be hosting a continued education course on concussions March 28th at Cal State Long Beach.
Nice.
So hopefully we're trying to give PTs out their value, so we're not just trying to shove advertisements down people's throats. We're trying to really meet the PTs in our community and again educate them on this new option for them. And a lot of the PTs using the site, they still hold their current position, their job too, and they either cut back a couple hours and they pick up 5 to 10 hours a week on the site. We haven't had a lot of people make it their full-time gig, so maybe in the future, but there's a lot of options out there, I think. So. Well,
I mean, man, if you look at the whole trends today, I mean, it's pretty much like a side hustler's way of living these days, right? I mean, not everybody, but a lot of people here on the West Coast, especially, they have 3-4 different streams of income. Right. It's not that crazy, you know?
Yeah. I agree.
And so, is it like pretty easy for physical therapists just to try to cut back their hours and then jump on to the actual site? I mean, working at a clinic, or is it set up where you guys have contracts where it's like, okay, you agree to 40 hours a week, so you got to be locked in for 5 days?
Yeah, 40. No, it's really easy. There's no contract or anything. I mean, a lot of times PTs have kind of alternate schedules, like they'll work 3 10s and 2 5s, so they'll work 4 10s, something like that. Yeah. You can put up as many hours as you want. You set your own availability. There's no contract, no nothing. You have your calendar and you put in, I want to work on Thursday from 12 to 5 and Saturday from 8 to 12 and, Sunday night, and that's when I'm available. And patients will find you and book you at those times.
All right. So if you don't mind, I just want to go into like a straight riff for a little bit about some like sales and marketing stuff, just because I really love this idea that you guys have. And there's so many plugins these days, especially on LinkedIn. Have you guys played around with some of these plugins where they have these automatic outreaches at all? Mm-mm. So people do them wrong. I've played around with them, and I've done them wrong myself. I'm guilty. I had to go back and apologize to a couple of my guys. Like, hey, didn't mean to spam the crap out of you. But for a site like you guys have, it seemed like it would be ideal because it's just awareness, right? Yeah. I mean, it's just to let them know, like, hey, this is another way for you guys to just find some new clients outside of the clinic and do your thing. Right? It seems just that simple, right? But so there's these automatic plugins that will automatically reach out to PTs that, or whatever criteria you want based off their actual job titles and location, which is kind of cool. And I can give you guys some links later.
Yeah.
I think I'll just throw it in the whole show notes so everybody has access to it. But it's for little as like, I think we're paying like for my guys per each person. So it's, per seat. But still, it's been killer for us because it allows us to take away some of that legwork of reaching out and having some messaging. What I do with the podcast to kind of give some insight is I'll take an episode like this, and then I'll have a clip, and I'll send it to my clients and say, hey, you guys know about what's going on? Because it's just a nice way to be top of mind,
sure.
And then try to give something that might give them some value, right?
Definitely.
But you guys have a way that can make them some money, too. It's more than just some, another cool piece of information,
totally.
right?
Yeah,
it's like,
definitely.
hey, you guys can get some clients here, and you guys can work your own thing, which majority of people want to do their own thing.
Right.
I think we're hard pressed trying to find people that are like, just sign me up for somebody else's gig, and I'll just, I'll take a seat and just whatever you want, Joe, I'll do it. It's not how anybody responds to me yet. I'm looking for them though.
Yeah.
It's difficult to find. And I mean, so all right, let's talk about the patients then. How do you guys go about finding patients?
So patients right now, so one of our earliest kind of routes for going after patients is the social media thing on Facebook. Our wives are both a part of this as well.
Nice. Got the whole family.
Yeah, we got everybody involved. We actually got my kids.
So much better.
I swear, my wife. We did a video with my wife as like, the busy mom. With the kids and everything to kind of show like how nice it is to have someone come to you because it's hard when you got little
I love
kids.
that, dude. Yeah.
So my kids are in one of the social media marketing videos too.
It's beautiful.
But
it's great, man.
yeah, so social media is a good spot to get kind of right at the patients. But like you said before, going to doctors' offices, going to urgent cares, letting the docs know about this, that it's going on, just as another option for their patients.
Yeah.
Because doctors just want to see their patients get better. They don't really care where they're going, how they're getting it. They want to see the results. Right. So, if they have a patient that's saying, I've been going to the clinic and I'm just not feeling like I'm getting better, then for them to have, a card or a brochure or whatever and say, hey, these guys are coming to you and it's a little bit different than what's going on in the clinic, check out Bridge2PT. And then that patient can come online and make a profile and find a PT and see if they can get better through us.
Oh, so I'm just curious because I'd imagine as more cash-based, clinics are opening up, alarms going off. Hopefully it's cool.
Yeah.
Hopefully
we'll
won't.
wait it out. We'll see what happens.
If this doesn't get published, then that means there was something that really happened bad. but so, should we go? I think we're okay. Everybody's still getting coffee. All right. If people start sprinting, I'll totally let you know.
Guys just getting water. We're good.
Yeah. I mean, so if we're talking to other docs, are they getting hit up all the time by the PTs? Are they pretty open? Are they looking like once you look for like different primary care physicians?
Yeah, they're definitely looking for spots to send their patients. I mean, most docs have some clinics that they send them to, but they're always happy to have somebody new that they're looking at referring to and sending their patients to.
Right.
Well, I think the other thing is, again, this is different. And so, you can have, you go to an orthopedic clinic, like a doctor, and they'll have a list of, 20 outpatient orthopedic clinics.
Right.
And so, there is kind of a saturation when it comes to that. But when you come in and you have a different model, doctors like to hear that. And so it's, again, their patients are going to be taken care of, and it's different from anything they've really seen.
And they're not locked into like a certain person, which is probably kind of nice because
Right.
I know it has to like depend a lot on like how that relationship is between the patient and the actual physical therapist, right?
For sure,
Definitely.
yeah. And you can browse another PT. There's, like you said, you're not locked in. Once you pick a PT, the next one you can pick a different PT. You can search for, you didn't like that guy. You find a girl that's in your area to work with you. Whatever you want to do.
Right.
Which could be awkward at a clinic.
Yeah, totally.
If you want to change PTs and you go to a different PT there.
I would imagine people would probably just leave, right?
For sure.
I mean, because I just think about like this. Not that I've done it before, but if I'm getting a haircut with one person, I don't like that haircut, man.
Yeah.
Going back to that same barbershop is not happening. I'm just,
Yeah,
I'm
you're
just
not going to the next chair.
Yeah, I'm like, I'm going to get the guy next
You
to
gotta
you.
awkwardly look at him like,
yeah. Your coworker sucks.
Yeah,
I mean, man. So all right, let's talk about next year. What do you guys have lined up for 2020?
Yeah, I think we're gonna do a big kind of marketing push again with education to mostly the physical therapist side in January, February, March. And then we have that continuing education course in March that we're going to provide CEUs for the PTs coming. So should be a 1-day, like 8-hour course with, again, more up-to-date concussion vestibular treatment.
Nice.
So that's kind of the beginning of the year, and we'll kind of see where it goes from there.
Yeah, I mean, we're just going to be, pushing the patient side hard, because that's where we've sort of been, holding off a little bit on. But I think it's, we're at the spot now where we need to kind of push the patient side and make sure we have both sides flowing in for us.
Yeah, man. I mean, it's kind of one of those narratives that this is kind of what I want to use my platform too for, is trying to educate the patients to understand what's out there.
For sure.
It's kind of why I like having guys like yourself come on and talk about what's hot throughout the industry, because it's just like there's so much stuff that's going on, but it's difficult to get awareness up for it.
Yeah.
And there's a lot of garbage out there. There's a lot of crap. You know what I mean? So you got to be cautious. But there are some things that actually get people pretty good results, and there's some good changes that are happening throughout the space. But we don't hear that stuff on the mass media. What we hear is healthcare sucks, and we got to overhaul the whole system, and it's like it's a little difficult.
Yeah, right. It's like we don't really want to wait for that. So while you guys are working on that, how about we do this?
Yeah, exactly.
And it's fragmented, kind of like you said. There's like a lot of cool things happening, but it's not consolidated. You don't really. That's why you don't hear about it. There's not a single message going across the board. It's you come across somebody that's doing something really cool, and then this other person that's doing something cool, and they don't really know about each other in a sense. So
yeah, and just kind of talking about that part for 2 more seconds to make sure we don't burn up in this blaze that's about to happen. But it's like most of the big companies and like major hospitals, they have their one message down, and they're all on board. But then there's this underbelly that everybody knows about. Like, when you talk to most people, they know about preventative health measures, or they're interested in it. Let me say that.
Definitely.
But then when you go to the major, outpatient clinics where they have 400 clinics nationwide, or 300, or whatever it is. We won't name names, but it's still the same old typical as usual. There's a couple guys trying different things, but not even those guys who have a lot of clinics aren't sharing that actual message.
Yeah,
yet,
totally.
At least from what I'm seeing.
Totally.
Yeah, so it's totally up to, I guess, the guys like us are just trying to stay super
scrappy.
scrappy.
You gotta get scrappy. You gotta change it one PT and one patient at a time, and that's really what we're trying to do. Another big marketing thing for us is just word of mouth for both PTs and patients. Get some PTs on there that like it, and they'll tell their friends, hey, like, you can throw some hours on here and make some extra money, and it's way better than working on people for 15 minutes at the clinic. Same thing with the patients. Get a PT to come to you. I got a guy, he'll come and see you too, and if you don't like him, there's 10 other guys in your area that'll do it. So that's what we're trying to push.
I got a guy, man. That's like that's a straight marketing campaign in itself,
right?
Man. I have a guy, man. I mean, well, Jeff and Collin, honestly, guys, I think you guys are up to something really cool. I'm going to tell my friends about it. I'm going to, blast this out to our whole email community, because I think people need to know that there's different options out there.
For sure.
For one, as business owners, that they can go about making money. That doesn't seem like there's anything that's going to cost them anything to get started, or no commitments. There's no pressure to do anything.
Yeah.
Besides just log on, and if you get a patient, great. If not, then you just wasted 20 minutes creating a profile.
That's
right. I mean, so like, to me, that's a win-win across the board for everyone.
Yeah.
And then the patients, man. I really hope the patients can wake up to knowing some opportunities that are out there, so they don't have to walk around just in pain.
Definitely.
Yeah.
Because that's kind of what it's about, right?
That's all it's about.
Yeah, man. You want to see people just suffering through life. You can actually live a life that's a little bit better.
That's right.
Yeah.
With some options. So guys, please plug away. Tell them how they can find you, whatever platforms you guys are on. And
so we're at Bridge2PT on everything: Instagram, Twitter, Facebook, whatever. We're all over them. www.bridge2pt.com. It's bridge 2pt.com, and I'm sure everything will be all in the show notes too. But we're excited. If you have any questions, reach out. We got a contact us thing on the website that we check all the time. It's just Jeff and I. So
we're very accessible. So if you have any questions, you just want to talk,
call, email. It'll be one of us.
And the family, right?
Yeah, the family, or my wife, or my kids. If we're all there.
Have the kids pick up the phone. Hey, you guys ready? Well, guys, honestly, like that, everyone, it's a wrap. I want to thank you guys so much for listening to the Real Value Exchange podcast. Please like it, share it, tell a friend about it. Whatever you do, anything helps to kind of help spread the word about the content. And if you have any meaningful thoughts about healthcare or where it's going,
Would love to get you on the show as well. So please, you can feel free to reach out to me. I have my contact information all through the show notes, but it's Joe Alex Lemon, wherever you are. I'm on LinkedIn, TikTok, you name it. I probably have an actual profile there. And please go visit my guys over at the Bridge2PT if you're dealing with any elements or if you're interested in being an actual physical therapist on the platform. All right, guys, with that said,